Why are airplane windows round? Have you ever looked closely at an airplane window? Did you notice why the edges of the glass are rounded instead of angular? Actually, this isn't just a random design choice. And here's the interesting thing. This round shape allows millions of people to fly safely in the sky today. If airplane windows weren't round, planes might not be able to fly as we know them today. So why? It all started with old airplanes. Let's go back to the 1950s. Back then, airplanes weren't as advanced as they are today. The first commercial jet planes were just beginning to be used, and those planes had a unique feature. Their windows were angular, just like windows in houses. Nobody thought this would be a problem. After all, windows are supposed to be square, until the terrible accidents happen. Unexpected accidents. In 1954, a passenger plane called Comet, used in England, disintegrated in mid-air. There was no engine failure, no pilot error. The plane suddenly fell apart in the sky. Moreover, this happened not once, not twice, but repeatedly on the same type of aircraft. The authorities were baffled because the planes were problem-free during takeoff and landing. But something was happening in the air. Where was the problem? After long investigations, the truth emerged. The problem was in the corners of the airplane windows. But why? A simple but critical rule of physics. I'll explain it very simply now. If an object has corners, stress accumulates at those corners. In other words, pressure is most concentrated at the corners. Think of a piece of paper. If you pull it from the middle, it's difficult to tear. But if you pull it from the corner, it tears immediately. The same thing was happening with airplane windows. What do airplanes experience in the air? When airplanes are close to the ground, the internal and external pressures are almost the same. But as the plane ascends, the outside air pressure decreases. The internal pressure, however, remains constant. So the plane is constantly under pressure from the inside out. This pressure seeks the weakest point, and the corners are the weakest points. What did the corners cause? In those old planes, microscopic cracks were forming in the corners of the glass. Not on the first flight, not on the second flight, but after hundreds of flights. These small cracks were growing, and at some point, the glass shatters. The aircraft fuselage cannot withstand the pressure, and disaster occurs. So the problem wasn't sudden. It was a defect that accumulated over time. The solution: round glass. Engineers realized something. If the windows didn't have corners, the pressure wouldn't concentrate at a single point. Thanks to the round shape, the pressure is distributed evenly everywhere. In other words, stress isn't concentrated at one point. That's why airplane windows started to be made round, and accidents ended. But why exactly that shape? If you've noticed, airplane windows aren't perfectly circular. They're usually oval or close to round. The reason for this is it provides a wider field of view. It increases structural strength. It distributes pressure evenly, so it's both safe and practical. There's another detail, actually. Airplane windows aren't made of a single piece of glass. Most passengers don't know this. Airplane windows consist of multiple layers. The outer glass withstands the pressure. The middle layer is for safety. The inner glass protects the passenger. So even if you see a scratch on the glass, that glass is still actually safe. Is the window perforated? Another detail. There's a small hole in airplane windows. Yes, it's done intentionally. This hole is to equalize the pressure. Thus, The main load remains on the outer glass. The inner glass only provides protection, so that hole is not a mistake but a conscious safety measure. A small shape, a big result. The fact that airplane windows are round is a seemingly simple but vital detail. If engineers had simply dismissed windows as just windows, the skies might not be so safe today. Sometimes, it's not huge systems that save lives but small details. The next time you're on a plane and look out the window, remember this. That circular shape isn't just for the view. That shape is the result of millions of tests, painful experiences, and engineering lessons. It's actually one of the silent heroes that allows us to fly safely in the sky.